Alright guys, welcome back to Valorant News. The World Championship continues an incredibly entertaining start to the tournament and the storylines are reaching their peak performance levels as it stands. Edward Gaming versus Giants threw up a big bit of controversy last night, especially with some of the words exchanged before the series began. KangKang makes his thoughts known after the series and also says they have the great chance to beat Paper Rex when they play them in the near future. Very much intrigued your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I greatly appreciate it. Couple of quick updates for you guys. Firstly, I watched this podcast a long time ago now actually with Hitch and Hex discussing many things in esports in general, but they did talk about the tier 2 Valorant scene and discussing how the salaries there, especially in North America, are rather unsustainable. Basically the question was, fans of Optic say, well, you didn't get the tier 1 spot in Partnership League in the Franchise League, why not fund a tier 2 team in Challengers, try and qualify through Ascension? But it just doesn't make financial sense. Optic never decided to do it, and, you know, they're not going to decide to do it from now, especially with organizations dipping out left, right, and center. And, according to George Geddes as of yesterday, and other reports over the last few days, most of the top tier 1 partnership teams will be cutting salaries, scaling back operations, and trying to make this a little bit more viable in the medium to longer term. Now, one thing that Riot is trying to do to promote some cohesion between tier 1 and tier 2, because, you know, they know that a lot of these organizations that have left tier 2 might not decide to return. So potentially some of those tier 2 teams will be orgless, right? They'll be going under some other name that isn't an organization. So in order to make that work better, Riot is trying to create some sort of academy-esque system where tier 1 teams can partner with tier 2 teams and can use those players as substitutes where necessary. But if they were to partner with an actual organization in tier 2, of which there still will be, I think, plenty for the upcoming season, maybe less than we have now, but still quite a few I think will return, then what's the benefit for those tier 2 teams? Because, you know, their best players can just get taken away, and George Geddes says that from what he's heard from all the teams that have spoken to Riot about this, they don't like it. The tier 1 teams don't want to pay extra salaries. The tier 2 teams don't want their potential best players just getting stolen by the tier 1 team. So, you know, it's not a popular idea, and it probably won't see that much fruition going forward. Now, the storylines have been a big talking point over the last couple of days. Players, I don't know what's in the water in Los Angeles right now, but everyone's talking trash, and I love it personally. I know it's caused some controversy with Demon 1 and all this, and people are like, oh, you know, Demon 1, I don't like the way he's going about it, and that's fine. That's the whole point. You're not meant to like necessarily the way that Demon 1's going about this trash talk journey, because that's going to make people dislike him. People want EG to lose, and therefore, you know, things get more entertaining. And obviously Boostio as well as leading into it as well and saying that, you know, only Fnatic is good in EMEA, the region is fraudulent, every other team is bad. Very exciting stuff. Now, Paper Rex played their first series yesterday against Crew, and Crew were in such a strange spot, right? Because they had, you know, won the Americas LCQ, unclear exactly how good they are, but Paper Rex played very well this series. They do look like the real threat as far as I'm concerned. If anyone's going to find a way to beat Fnatic this tournament, it might be these guys. Something is actually there. He's playing, and a pretty clean 2-0 for Paper X over Crew Esports. So very impressive result, I thought. I know that Sergio Aguero was in the house actually here as well, but a 2-0 for Paper X, and I think both maps relatively comfortable, right? 13-7, 13-8. So it was close. Crew were decent enough, but map 2 was over before it began, really, when Paper X started off 8-0, and it was quickly done and dusted. So something didn't do anything crazy this series, but the entire team played well, and that is, you know, definitely a statement series to some degree, I think, from Paper X going forwards for the rest of the tournament. But then we get into the series with the big drama as far as I'm concerned, and that is Fatinho and Co. actually on Giants versus the Edward Gaming boys. Some of the coach cams as well were hilarious today, especially, or yesterday, right, and they will continue to be, especially in this series, and also in the Fnatic one. I mean, look at the shots here as well. Absolutely fantastic stuff from Fatinho to, honestly, look pretty good in the early part of this series. Edward Gaming, I mentioned this before the weekend began, that Giants are a good team. They're better than I think people give them credit for. Edward were expected to win, definitely, and they did win, and I predicted them to win, and I'm happy that I did. But Giants are no slouches at all, and I really am interested to see what happens between Giants and Crew in the other game that they play. And game 1, Giants won this game. So the trash talk before the series was basically, and we'll see it in a second, that Rhyme of Giants had said that Edward Gaming were effectively lucky to be in the position they're in. Lucky to qualify for Masters, lucky to do as well as they did, and aren't as good of a team as people believe them to be. So that was why there was a little bit of extra energy coming into this series from both sides, and especially Edward Gaming, it seems, to deliver the goods. Rhyme does get this 1v1 clutch here against KangKang. They do win map 1 Giants, and Edward are an interesting team, there's no doubt, because they rely heavily, as far as I'm concerned, on individual plays and individual players. And that's fine against the majority of teams. I do feel like when Edward, get to the playoffs, if they do, and they go on to play against, real top contenders that have great team cohesion, their individuals might not be enough to overcome the well-formed group of Paper X or Fnatic or teams like this, as far as I'm concerned. But their style is undisputedly incredibly entertaining, and you get great moments from Nobody and KangKang and Chichu and all of these guys when it matters, and it's very entertaining to watch, absolutely. Is it a tournament-winning, kind of team setup? I'm not so convinced, but they're a great team to watch. Like, that is absolutely undisputed. So it goes all the way to a game 3 in the NT1 Ascent, and Chichu goes big towards the end of this game. Nobody had a great series as well, but when it really mattered, Edward Gaming turned up the heat, and they got the job done. And this was the post-game interview here and reaction from KangKang. Now, there were some discussions about the translation, whether it wasn't perfect. On the balance, obviously I don't speak the language, so I'm not going to be able to give you much advice on this, but most people seem to think the translation was pretty damn good. And I think, to be fair, KangKang made it clear, because he translated the last word for us himself and made it very clear what he seems to think about the Team Giants, and we can tell why based on the words that were said by Giants before this series began. Also, there was some discussion from KangKang after this one discussing Paper X, saying that he believes that Edward can beat them, he believes they will beat them, and that will be a series for the ages for sure.
EDG, they're overrated. There's teams out there that has proven that they are like a top 4, top 5 team consistently, and then seeing, for example, EDG getting that praise, instantly top 4, top 3, blah blah blah, yabba dabba do, all that kind of stuff.
就是我们这次比赛主要目的就是打好自己的东西嘛，就是我们根本不 care 对面到底要出什么招，我们打好我们的，在我们眼里他们就是 trash。
I would say the main goal for us at this tournament is to play our own game. To be honest, we don't really care what strategies they're going to pull off. In our eyes, they're basically just trash.
Oh, wow, okay. Woo, spicy!
我不赞成。其实也还好吧，相比他们刚，我觉得是我们有的。为什么？就是因为我的5个队友都是超人啊，我的4个队友都是超人，我们都是超人，凭什么不能赢 PRX 啊？中国有句老话，事不过3，这一次 I will show it.
I will show you.
In terms of aiming, definitely we stand a chance to win against Paper X. And there's a saying in Chinese that never repeat the mistakes for over twice. So this time I'll show it. I'll show to Paper X that we can do it.
I believe in you, KangKang. I believe in one.
So something versus KangKang today. Very exciting stuff, absolutely. And yeah, that series ended as follows, right? So 2-1 for Edward Gaming. They get the job done just about. This is the craziest thing about the series, was not the fact that nobody had kind of like a legacy series here. Fatinia had 72 frags over the 3 months, which is the highest in the tournament so far by quite some margin. So a phenomenal series, right? 13-8, 13-11 actually combined. It was super competitive. And then split was that crazy overtime 13-15 that Giants eventually got the job done on. I will also say, I don't know how many times this ever happens, but KangKang went 21-21 map 1. Game 2 he went 17-17. Game 3 he went 15-15. So every map he was same KD. It was a 1.00 flat KD, and therefore ends up overall 15-53. That can't happen often. Like, we can probably count the amount of times that's happened on a high-level Valorant game, like, on one hand. It seems very rare. So, I don't know, just thought a little bit of a quirky stat there. And the final series we had of the day was Fnatic in their qualification series against BLG. Mini is so funny as well, actually. Like, this guy, he reacts like this every time. It's kind of funny how, when, like, Leo might get first-blooded once or lose a few HP, and all of a sudden Mini's like, oh, I can't believe this is happening, despite the fact that they're going to win the game 13-2. But it's a good mindset, right? Because Fnatic knows, and Mini knows, that against better opposition, any mistake can get punished. And, you know, he wants to eliminate absolutely any and all mistakes. If they don't win 13-0, 13-0, Mini's going to be looking like this for the majority of the series. But it was a quick 2-0. There wasn't really too many highlights in this one. It was just Fnatic doing what they do. Game 1 was 13-2, and then Game 2 was 13-8, I believe. So there was some hope that we might get a map on our hands. But, I mean, yeah, it was done before the series was even beginning as far as I'm concerned. Now, this I thought was very interesting from Boaster. We know that there's this developing storyline between EG and Fnatic, and EG are kind of going into this villain role thing with Demon 1 and Boaster and these guys, and as Boaster says, if they want to be the villains, I'll be the white light baby type thing. So, you know, as we said yesterday, if you want to have heroes, you've got to have villains as well to some degree. Now, typically, I will say this is interesting because typically in esports and sports in general, the team that's winning everything or the driver that's winning everything becomes the villain in some respects. People want the underdog to win. They want the the dominant team or dominant driver or dominant player to lose, and therefore the underdogs become the heroes and the overdogs, as it were, become the villains. But in this way, it's somewhat switched because Fnatic are the team winning everything. They're the dominant force, but they're also very likable. So it's a bit of a strange dichotomy, because I'm sure many fans, let's say it's Evil Geniuses versus Fnatic in the finals of this tournament in a couple of weeks' time on the Championship Sunday, I'm sure that many fans will want Fnatic to win because, they're the more likable team, they're the heroes and all this stuff, but they have also won everything already, and many fans would be like, no, I want EG to win to upset the, the Giants team, as it were. So I think it's usually not how it plays out, and I think that over time, if Fnatic do win everything and continue to win everything going into next year, they will, people will start to hate on them. They will become the villains, and they will be the team that people want to fall off in some sense. But for now, that's not the case, and we'll see if that remains the case for the rest of the tournament. But a quick 2-0 over Billy Gaming, and a 13-2 it was on Haven, so this wasn't even close. And then 13-8. So fair play, BLG put up a fight here. They will go down, and they will try and qualify still through their group, of course. We saw that Boostio said, focus up, guys. Make sure you qualify through the group first before you start to talk trash. So they will not play today, but we do get, first up as well, a couple of losers bracket games. Liquid Loud is a banger because, both of these teams starting in losers, one of them goes home immediately. Liquid, the EMEA champions, Loud, the Americas champions, and Loud could go home today. And that's my prediction a few days ago, so I'm going to stick with it and say that Loud go home, Liquid move on. T1, I've got them beaten FPX, but I really don't know at this point. And then PaperX, Edward Gaming. I'll take PaperX to qualify. I had Edward Gaming going through second seed, and if that is what happens and Edward Gaming go through second seed and PaperX first seed, there is a good chance, hopefully at least, that we get Evil Geniuses versus Edward Gaming, which would be a banger. All the storylines, NA versus China, like so many storylines would be popping off there, and EG are first seed, and if Edward Gaming were to lose here, win their next series and get the second seed, then that'd be absolutely fantastic as far as I'm concerned. But very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.